Probably already gonna get started.
Yeah.
If there's anybody else that'd like to come stand with us and maintain some sort of social distancing, come on.
I guess I should run on.
Good afternoon. I am Janice Lucas, Executive Director of the Lead Coalition of Bay County. We come to stand with law enforcement this afternoon to denounce the murder of George Floyd and to talk about how we can, as a community, respond and yet stay together and move this dynamic, move this conversation forward. And so, without further ado, our sheriff, Tommy Ford, will make opening remarks, and then we'll hear from each of the police chiefs in Bay County in this unprecedented show of support for our community.
Thank you, Ms. Janice. I'd like to start out by thanking Ms. Janice Lucas with the Lead Coalition and Tony Bostic with Northwest Florida Minority Business Chamber of Commerce for organizing this event and bringing us all together, as well as my fellow police chiefs and law enforcement agency executives for coming together in unison with this community. As a law enforcement officer and a human being, I'm angry and deeply disturbed by the actions of the officer in Minnesota that took the life of George Floyd, a man in his custody. I want to stress in the strongest possible terms that this officer does not represent the majority of law enforcement officers across this country, and most importantly to me, any law enforcement officer here in Bay County. Any such behavior would not and will not be tolerated at the Bay County Sheriff's Office or any of our local agencies. We've worked diligently to keep open lines of communication and friendship between all communities in Bay County. There must be a way for people to address grievances with actions of those in government. In recognizing this necessity, we will continue our efforts to maintain relationships and encourage dialogue that will nurture an environment in which law enforcement can protect and serve all people respectfully and in a constitutional manner, including protecting the right of the people to peacefully protest. I'm proud of the residents of Bay County and the manner in which they have constructively expressed their feelings about the death of George Floyd this weekend. I personally witnessed several protests throughout Bay County, and the people sent a strong message. They were heard loud and clear. The Bay County Sheriff's Office will continue to protect the constitutional right of the people to peacefully protest. I ask everyone to refuse to allow the actions of an officer 1,100 miles away from Bay County to damage the special relationships that law enforcement and our community have worked hard to build. Our community has already experienced violent destruction. Hurricane Michael touched us all in one way or another with loss, with devastations of home, businesses, most infrastructure. We have worked hard to rebuild Bay County. Rebuilding is a slow process. Let's protect what has been restored and still allow for the free constitutional expression of peaceful protest. Our community has been through a lot, and we stood together. Our differences, when respected, work to make us stronger and a safer community in which every individual can thrive and where everyone is protected and served in a respectful manner. Again, I'd like to thank the Northwest Florida Minority Business Chamber of Commerce and the Lead Coalition for organizing this event to show that Bay County is unified and we'll all work together. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Chief Scott Irvin with the Panama City Police Department.
Good morning. I want to echo the sentiments that Sheriff Ford just mentioned, and I can tell you, I grew up here in this community. Came to work at Panama City in 1999, worked at other agencies, and I can tell you the bonds that we have here in Bay County are strong. And our mission statement here with the Panama City Police Department is members and citizens working together to prevent, reduce, and eliminate crime through shared community values. The actions that we saw nationally in this event definitely do not reflect the values that we share here. Not just the members of law enforcement standing here today, but the members of our community. And when these things happen across the nation, they still affect us locally. And it's hard to imagine that an event 1,100 miles can have that kind of ripple effect, but it does. It hurts our hearts, it hurts our soul, it hurts the intentions of good men and women that come to work every day and put on a badge to go out and protect and serve their communities in a compassionate and a caring way. And so we stand together and we appreciate our community, the support we get every day. We thank you for organizing this event, and of course we look forward to continue with you in the future. I'll introduce Chief Whitman.
Thank you, and thank you for the invite. As you can see, we do stand together. This is a very tight community. We believe in protecting you guys and protecting your citizens. I took my oath when I was 18 years of age. That's an oath that will never expire. I swore to uphold the Constitution and your rights, and I'll do that to the end of my time. We're very tight. We're very close. We want to protect everybody in our community. When I hire a young officer, I talk about people's constitutional rights, and I tell them it's an honor and a privilege to break bread and live with the people that we serve. We're no better than anyone else. We're here to protect you and to serve you, and we're going to do this as a community. We all want justice for Floyd and his family. It's a hard time, but remember, there's a lot of good cops out there. We care for you. We want to be part of this community. We want to protect you. Our brothers and sisters behind us, that's what we want to do. Don't forget about the good cops. We're here to take care of you. My doors are always open. We take use of force very strict at our department, just like the other chiefs and the sheriff. Your safety and the way our officers treat our people in our community is very important to us. I'd like to introduce Chief Ricky Raymond from the Lynn Haven Police Department.
Joe, I'll get that for you. I also want to thank you for having us and inviting us here. But I mean, the biggest thing is communication all the way across the board. You know, we need to communicate from, you know, all aspects of diversity. And our doors, as I said, are always open. And something we were all just talking about, a few of the chiefs, I want you all to know that we do follow the use of force continuum with FDLE that has been set forth. And secondly, I don't know any chiefs that's standing up here that doesn't review use of force reports before they even make it into the system. So it's being closely monitored. And again, I too have great sympathy for the family and the loss, but I don't think there's anyone within this community that has that type of blood in them. And I thank you very much for coming. Chief Dennis Hutton. Sorry. Thank you.
Again, thank you for inviting me to participate in this. And the same thing goes for the Parker Police Department as what you've heard from the other chiefs. We believe that every human life is special, and that we also believe that law enforcement is empowered by the community and invests us with the lawful authority to use of force. And with that, we also have to weigh the benefits with our actions, and we promise to use only the necessary use of force required to put an end to a conflict. And what we see in Minneapolis was a true tragedy, and it should have never have happened. And again, thank you. Chief Barry Roberts with Springfield Police Department.
First off, I'd like to thank you for your time. It's the most valuable thing any of us have. Ms. Lucas, we miss you around our schools, by the way. Thank you for putting this together, you and Mr. Bostic. The Springfield Police Department in no way condones what has happened. It's tragic, and we have nothing but sympathy for the family. We're in total disagreement with how it was initially handled. I will tell you this, is I echo the words of the sheriff and all the previous chiefs, and would not be tolerated. And I'm going to leave you with this. Nobody dislikes a bad cop. And I use the term, I won't use the term officer, but a bad cop that makes a bad choice like this, because it makes everybody look bad. And we are the first ones to dislike it the most. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the invite. My name is Jack Massey. I'm the special agent in charge for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. I came over from Pensacola this morning. It's very important that I'd be here to support this effort. What happened in Minnesota, it does not reflect law enforcement as a whole. It was wrong. The chief talked about FDLE and policies and procedures that law enforcement officers now are being trained, or future law enforcement officers are being trained, and what you saw is not appropriate and not trained. With that being said, I have the opportunity to look what's going on in Florida, and I'm proud to say that there are some areas that are having problems, and that law enforcement folks are having to deal with it. But up here, again, I'm proud to say, is because of the relationship this community has, and this is going all the way over to Pensacola. There's been several protests in Pensacola, Santa Rosa, and all of them all of them have been peaceful, because there's been a partnership between the community and law enforcement. And there's been that communication of boundaries. And the protesters know they have grievances, like the sheriff said. And nobody's doubting their grievances, and they agree with the grievances. It's how you communicate it. And I'm just proud of the law enforcement agencies in the 10 counties that I'm responsible for that reach out to the community. And you know what? They understand that there are grievances. They want people to be heard. And the violence and what's going on now, nobody's going to understand or hear those words. So again, thank you for allowing me to come over, and thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Sheriff Ford, and all you chiefs for being here, and Mr. Massey from FDLE. The Northwest Florida Minority Business Chamber of Commerce resolutely renounces the murderous actions of Minneapolis Police Department officers Derek Chauvin, Tao Tu, J. Alexander Kuhn, and Thomas Kane. Just as we condemn the deadly actions of these arrestable officers, the Chamber does not condone the senseless violence that is sweeping our nation. We are partnering with the agencies represented here today in an effort to prevent any senseless violence and destruction of property in our community. As each of these agencies has condemned the heinous acts of Derek Chauvin, stated their use of force policy, and pledged to do everything within their authority to prevent such an occurrence in our community, the Northwest Florida Minority Business Chamber of Commerce pledges to support their efforts to provide the best law enforcement service to Bay County. The Northwest Florida Minority Business Chamber of Commerce asks that all citizens of Bay County exercise due regard and continue to be the outstanding citizens that you have demonstrated in past times of perturbation. Thank you.
Good morning again. I want to thank Mr. Tony Bostic for all of his hard work in making this happen today, along with my board of directors from the Lead Coalition of Bay County, for others who are in this room who have gathered with us from partnering organizations, the LGBT Center of Bay County, Care Florida, and others who are standing with us. This is another step toward healing a history of hurt. And while we know that what has been said here will go forth, we also know that this is not the end-all and the solution. This is another step toward healing in our community. I'm an advocate of dialogue and of conversation, but we must call for action as well. There are young people and old people alike who have suffered through this history of hurt in our community. And so as we move forward from here with our law enforcement and our community pledging to work together, this will be a continuum of effort. And so we are going to not only recover from Hurricane Michael, the pandemic, and anything else this world might throw at us, we are going to recover stronger and better and heal the hurt that is so evident in our communities, not only here, but throughout the world. I thank you, men and women of the law enforcement community, for our community members who have joined with us today and those who are with us in spirit. But this is the first step, or another step, because the Lead Coalition was formed to work on reducing violence in our community. And we said then, and it is still ever true now, we cannot do it alone. Law enforcement cannot do it alone. We have to work together. And in the 5 years since the Lead Coalition has been formed, we have worked with most of you, if not all of you in this room, with law enforcement, but there is still much work for us to do here. And so we too denounce the heinous murder of George Floyd. And we denounce those 4 officers who did that. And we stand with the citizens in Minnesota and those who are protesting around the world. And we appreciate our law enforcement for acknowledging our right to assemble as an American right, and that they will protect us and our citizens as we protest. So thank you all for being here with us today. And thank you, Sheriff Ford, for welcoming us to your house.
Thank you, and I just echo some of the things that some of the organizations that are here. In addition to the one that Ms. Lucas mentioned, I see Mr. Peters here and Eddie Bell. We've got Mr. Paul Hunt. We've got Girls Inc. We've got Anchorage Children's Home. Mr. McCambry with Gulf Coast, and just many other organizations. And Cody, people that come here to hear what we have to say today as we share our hearts, and we just appreciate you being here. And in an effort to show community unity, all the Bay County law enforcement, as well as these organizations and the Bay County Interdenominational Ministers Alliance, and any other organization that would like to participate, we will be hosting a food drive this Friday at the Panama City Mall starting at 11:30. We should have food for about 700 families, and I'm just very pleased to join together with you in this effort, because as we've seen from some of the food drives that we've done in the past few weeks, this community is still hurting, both from Hurricane Michael and the unemployment situation from the coronavirus. So we're proud as Bay County law enforcement to join together with other organizations to help our community. And again, thank you all for being here today and listening to us share our heart with you. Thank you.
Are you going to put your comments online?
I can?
That'd be great.
Sure. Yeah.
It's all live right now.
Ready, break?
Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.